Hey, let's do a discussion video. I haven't done one of these in a while. Now, before and after I did the Akame ga Kill review, I was thinking, like I said in my review, the people who disagree with me might just end up telling me that this is just supposed to be a dumb fun action anime. And then therefore the action is an excuse for the problems I listed, where I ended up saying that you can't use action alone to fix a show critically. Even though I do stand with this statement, I have been doing a lot of thinking overall into the importance of action in anime. Is it important to a show critically? Can it help overshadow other weak points? Is poor action a fault in the anime? What is enjoyable action? What is bad action? Or should we not even focus on it at all? My first thought is that action isn't really all that important, since characters are always the most important part of not just anime, but storytelling in general. But I think what most people think about when they think of action is basically just the fighting itself, such as the quality of the effects or the fluency of the animation. Now these things are definitely nice to see, since nice animation is, well, nice to look at any way you put it. But it isn't going to define characters, such as the action of Dragon Ball. I mean, who really watches this anime if not for the action? They just take so much time into the action scenes that I honestly ended up losing interest in the anime, as the fight scenes seemed to go on, and on, and on, and just never seemed to stop. Now, there's like several episodes of there's just fight scenes alone, then the next episode is just fight scenes alone. While the action was definitely nice to look at, I never really found the anime all that engaging, since the characters ended up getting second priority. I mean, you honestly can't expect me to be emotionally attached to an explosion. So is that my final answer? That anime really shouldn't put much thought into the action scene since the characters are always so much more important. And at first, this was my final answer. But then I thought about it some more and ended up asking myself, would Code Geass, one of my favorite anime by the way, be as good as it was without the action? Just for a little background, before I started to review anime, I used to have a rule for myself. In order to conserve my consumption of anime so that I wouldn't burn through a series that would be really good, I would end up limiting myself to watching only one episode a night. Having very few anime I actually dropped this rule for. And as for Code Geass, I didn't end up watching 2 or 3 episodes, but there was actually times where I watched 5 episodes in a row before I finally clawed myself away from it. And this was all with the intention just to watch one episode, see how well that worked out. With the main reason behind this just being how incredibly engaging it was. Every time there was a conflict of any type, which includes the action scenes by the way, I was completely on the edge of my seat. Surprisingly, even though Dragon Ball had more flashy and fast-paced animation, I ended up finding the action of Code Geass to be so much more addictive and interesting to watch. But after some more thought, the surprising thing is what made the action so much more extremely addicting wasn't the quality of the explosions or the animation, which is what most people see good action being, but rather it was the characters. Since I actually cared about the characters, more so being just how well written and interesting Lelouch was, when the anime threatened to kill him off or stop his plans, it created perfectly constructed tension. The creators of the show even cleverly made it that this does happen every now and then to an extent, which is just another mechanism to the great tension and overall great enjoyment of the action. Furthermore, the action is used to illustrate Lelouch's plans and show just how brilliant he is at military combat, such as when he rescued Suzaku, when he started off the battle by blowing up a mountain, or pretty much the entire ending of the first season. These scenes really show just what kind of a guy Lelouch is without just saying he's smart. It's really impressive when you can use action to define a character along with creating great investment. In contrast, Dragon Ball really didn't capitalize on these aspects very well. Now don't get me wrong, this isn't a let's bash Dragon Ball the anime discussion, since I don't hate the show or really think that it's really bad or anything. I'm more in the meh camp. And I'm definitely not launching attack against the fans of the show. I mean, if you want to watch an anime solely based on the amount of big muscular guys beating the living tobacco juice out of each other, this really is your best bet. Also, keep in mind this is being based off of the original Dragon Ball and the original Dragon Ball only. As for Goku, he's not horrible, but I was never able to relate to him or get behind him that much in the action, just because of how much of a perfect hero he is, even to the point where he starts to become kind of boring and uninteresting. I mean, they even have a plot point where they say he doesn't even think immoral thoughts. All he really is just basically being determined and unnaturally innocent. Even if you take out that the Dragon Balls basically just get rid of the threat of death. Like I said before, there's way too many battles that last like 4 episodes without getting any noticeable progress. And because of this, they really can't keep tension and interest all that long. And it is that tension and interest which is a major factor is what really helps define the characters through action, not the screaming. And you can say this is meant to show Goku's determination, but that's just it. He's always showing perfect, unflawed determination. Less really is more sometimes. Since if you're going to push a character to his ends all the time, it kind of loses the tension and seriousness it would have had if the anime was more conservative about it. I mean, I can serve you a gourmet meal, but if that's all I serve you repeatedly, it's going to lose its luster, even if I didn't change the dish at all. This is really the kind of action that at best does nothing to help the characters, and at worst kind of hurts them, since it takes the focus off the characters who are the most important part of any aspect of a story. On the other hand, another part of an anime that uses action absolutely perfectly is the ending of Gurren Lagann. I know I already talked about this before, but just hang with me since this is such a good example. Since they used the characters as the most important part, and the action was used to create tension and investment. And honestly, if there wasn't one part of that equation, it would have ended up hurting the anime overall. And here it is the same as Code Geass, being that the action is great because it develops and stays focused around the characters and how it affects them. First, the action helps present this conflict as serious and something that most likely the characters won't ever overcome. Next, the action pushes the characters to a definable extreme, and shows different types of emotions such as determination, as some of them are willing to give their lives in a very honorable sense. Which yet again, without words, says something about their characters and adds so much more likability to them, while at the same time amplifies the tension and the seriousness of this situation, as several characters have to die for them even to have a chance to reach their goal. Not to mention, this all rotates around Simon, who is a 3-dimensional character, having gone through completely definable character development. As for Gurren Lagann's ending, action was a key factor, and it was not just there for visual effects, but how it affects the characters. Even in a bad anime, when used correctly, genuine action can help it critically, in creating tension and hopefully some engagement. While I still really don't like Akame ga Kill, I do feel that the action of the ending episodes did help to lessen the many flaws that the anime did have to hopefully something better. The action of the beginning episodes, while looking fairly nice, weren't really about well-written characters. They didn't create much seriousness or emotions, unless you really want to look at the extremely glanced over and easily forgotten deaths. And lastly, there wasn't a strong sense of danger and consequences of failure. While the ending did suffer from the, let's say, distasteful characters, the action finally got Tatsumi off his dorky, perverted, generic main character mode, and finally shows some believable emotions being determination and a passion to his cause, which made it a bit easier to care about him putting his life on the line. Along with this, the action helped set up the serious tone and nature of the battle. They didn't just say this is important and a lot of people are risking their lives, but we see a large army invading the capital as both sides are forced to go all out to win. While the action of the ending didn't by any chance save the anime. Oh, and I have a whole review on that if you actually care, by the way. Self-promotion? What are you talking about? But rather it was a factor they actually used correctly to help the ending overall. Action can be very important in some anime, but not for the visual effect. Engaging action when used correctly can help create and show a character's mindset and personality. Purposeless action is just there to be there, and at worst it can replace characters, which could easily result in a weakening of the anime overall. But if you're going to have an anime about some character taking over the world, that better have some good character defining action in it. Although I think the better question to ask, rather than how important action is how important tension is, which is the aspect which helps define the characters and create overall investment. Action isn't always, but it can definitely be the means in how this is created, and almost all anime need tension. And that doesn't have to come from giant action scenes. It can be anything as whether two people will fall in love, or a psychological mind game between two people. As for anime like Code Geass, the action is a critical part of the anime. where it is smart enough to know that it should always be focused on the characters and always revolve around them. Overall, in some places, action, or if you want to be more specific, tension, is a very important aspect to a lot of shows. Welcome to Endslate. Now before I get started, I am kind of curious to hear thoughts on this since, well, this is kind of a discussion video. Whether you think I had some bad points, good points, liked it, disliked, hated, want me to get out of here, since, well, I have been thinking about this for a while and it's always interesting to hear what other people have to say on this matter. Anyway, guess what? There's videos here. This is a YouTube channel. That's how that works. Because look here, there's the Akame ga Kill review. It's my advertisement of choice today, apparently. Then there's the My Little Monster review. That has romance in it. Not the review, the show. Cause I wouldn't want to know how that would work. Dear. Does that guy's expression creep anyone else out at all? I mean, he like holds it for a few seconds.